Hello, my name is Ari Waldman, posting from Jed Nero's office. I'm a person who stutters, good stutter, all the way through the block. That is essential. Now I'm going to do Daily Tanya, iggeret hakodesh, middle of epistle 23. Actually, Daily Tanya, iggeret hakodesh, end of epistle 22, Wednesday the 19th of Tishrei, 5781, October 7th, 2020. Iggeret hakodesh, end of epistle 22. It is also the fifth day of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot and the third day of hamoed. Without further ado, Daily Tanya. V'od zot idrosh mima'alatchem. Furthermore, I earnestly asked of my esteemed listeners on the above matters between man and God. The Alter Rebbe referred to himself as merely repeating reminders. Here, however, as he begins to speak of the relationship between man and man, he uses stronger terms. Shelo lahashlich dvarai acharechem, asher arachti siach liot kol ish yashar v'holech bitomo, kasher asa halokim et ha'adam yashar. Not to cast aside my words, in which I have asked that every man be upright and walk with integrity, just as God made me upright. Below levakesh shavonot rabbi ma'alilot mitzadei gaver machashavot adam betachbulotav, nor to seek numerous speculations regarding the pretexts of man's steps and a person's thoughts and devices. It is not man's task to weigh the motives of his fellow. Kilo melachet shamayim ki zo melachet shamayim hu v'lo melachet basar v'dam. For that is the work of heaven, and not an occupation for flesh and blood. Rather, everyone should believe with absolute, I forgot this, v'lahamin be'emuna shlema b'mitzvat chazal, v'have shafal, ruach bifnei kol adam bichlal. Rather, everyone should believe with absolute faith in the precept of our sages of blessed memory, and be humble of spirit before every man without exception. Ki yitziva milta v'takin pitkama shekol achad mitoken mechavera. For it is a true statement and a correct proverb that every man becomes better through his fellow, since every individual possesses specific qualities that others lack. The realization by disparate people that in essence they comprise one whole, enables them all to become complemented and perfected by each other. The above form of address, furthermore, I earnestly ask of my exalted listeners, is expounded by the previous Rebbe, the saintly Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, of the non-literal level of Derush, noting Edrosh Mimalat Chem, can also be understood as speaking of calling forth exalted qualities. The previous Rebbe once remarked, this form of address does not mean that the Alter Rebbe was confining his appeal to an exclusive group of exalted individuals. After all, he was addressing this letter to his Hasidim at large. Rather, in using his phrase, he was implying an underlying plea. Call forth your exalted qualities. With regard to the following pair of phrases, not to cast aside my words in which I have asked, the previous Rebbe explains that the former phrase refers to the indirect and transcendent makif, mode in which the Alter Rebbe influenced his Hasidim, while the second phrase refers to his simultaneously direct and internalized pnimi, mode of influence. Finally, the previous Rebbe points out that the Alter Rebbe's following affirmation that every man literally is better than his fellow really means that one's fellows enables one to become a better person, i.e., translated above. Every man becomes better through his fellow. Uchtiv kol ish Yisrael ki ish echad chaverim. Thus too it is written, all the men of Israel associated together is like one man. K'moshe ish achad mechover me'evarim rabim behipardes nogea belev ki mimenu to tzaot chayim. Just as one man is composed of many limbs, and when they become separated, this affects the heart, for from it there issues life. Im kein anachnu hayot kulanu ki ish echad mamash tikun ha'avoda balev. Therefore, by truly being all like one man, service of God in the heart, prayer will be firmly established. To consider both this divisiveness and this harmony on the cosmic level in terms of the relation of souls to the divine presence. The above sentence means that divisiveness among Jews affects, as it were, the divine presence, the heart of the Jewish people. Conversely, since the task of prayer is to connect a soul with its source in the divine presence, cultivating one's sense of unity with one's fellows, which in turn connects all souls with the Shekhinah, enhances the divine service of prayer. Umiklal hein kule. And from the affirmative, you may infer the negative. In keeping with rabbinic usage, the bracketed clause is euphemistically omitted in the Hebrew original and merely hinted at by etc., i.e., when unity is lacking, the service of prayer is likewise imperfect. V'al kein ne'amar le'avado shchem echad doka. That is why it is said, to serve him with one purpose, literally with one part or with one shoulder, only when the Jews fully unite in this way can it be said they serve him. V'al kein ahovei yedidai na v'na litroach b'chol lev v'nefesh litkoa ahavat re'ehu bilibo. The Alter Rebbe resumes his plea to his Hasidim. Therefore, my beloved and dear ones, I beg again and again that each of you exert himself with all his heart and soul to firmly implant in his heart a love for his fellow Jew. V'ish et ra'at re'ehu el tachash shavu bil vavchem k'tiv. And in the words of Scripture, let none of you consider in your heart what is evil for his fellow, V'lo ta'aleh al leiv leolam. Moreover, such a consideration should never arise in one's heart in the first place. Ve'im ta'aleh, and if it does arise for even a person who has attained the rank of a Benoni, cannot prevent a thought from presenting itself to his mind. Yahad fana, milibo kihindof ashan, v'chamo machash shavat avoda zara mamash. One should push it away from his heart as smoke is driven away, as if it were an actual idolatrous thought. Ki gedola lashon hara keneged avoda zara, vigiloi arayot ushfichot damim. For to speak evil against another is as grave as idolatry, and incest and bloodshed. V'im bedibor kach kule, and if this be so with speech, then surely thinking evil about one another is even worse. For all the wise heart, ukvar noda, l'chol chacham, leiv yitron, hakesher, v'hamachashava al hadibor. For all the wise of heart are aware of the greater impact on the soul of thought over speech. Hein litov, hein limotav. Whether for the good or for the better. This really means whether for good or for bad. Here too, however, the Alter Rebbe uses a traditional euphemism for the better, which could be understood to mean for that which needs to become better. Thought is a soul garment that is more intimately involved with the soul than speech. For this reason, good thoughts leave a deeper impression on oneself than good speech, and conversely, evil thoughts have a deeper impression than evil speech. B, thought is a constant, just as the soul itself is a constant, whereas with regard to speech, there is a time to keep silence and a time to speak. V'hei hatov hamivarech et amo b'shalom yasim aleichem shalom v'chayim ad olam. May the good Lord, who blesses his people with peace, bestow peace and life upon you forevermore. Kenefesh ohev nafsham milei v'nefesh, as is the wish of him who loves you deeply from heart and soul. This is the end of my video, Tanya, day 7, which corresponds to Thursday, the 19th of the month of Tishrei. Daily Tanya, iggeret hakodesh, middle of epistle 23, signing out. Goodbye. Have a great day.